Uncle Phil is officially back in Indy. The Colts signed Phillip Rivers to the practice squad heading into a big game against the Seattle Seahawks. Let's get to it.
You are Locked On Colts, your daily Indianapolis Colts podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone. My name is Zach Hicks, your resident film nerd of HorseshoeHuddle.com. Welcome to the Locked On Colts podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. And if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. Jake is still out this week, and we actually have some news to update with Jake. Jake and his wife did deliver a healthy baby boy this morning, Benny Arthur. So great shout out to Jake and his wife for, again, their second child up there. And we'll be seeing Jake some point again this season. He's not out for the rest of the season, unlike some people, but we're going to give him time to spend with his family going forward. Stepping in for him today, though, is Destin Adams. You know him, you love him. His work over there at A to Z Sports, he does a great job. And Destin and I are going to dive into the news of the week, the news of the year I don't even know, the news of the day for the Colts. And that is Uncle Phillip Rivers is officially back, signing to the practice squad. Now, as of right now, he's still eligible for the Hall of Fame after the season because he's only on the practice squad. But once he signs to the active roster, if that's the plan for the Colts, then his whole Hall of Fame counter would reset. But the 44-year-old was last with the Colts in 2020, has a very close relationship, obviously, with Shane Steichen. And yeah, the Colts, with dealing with injuries to not only QB1, not only QB2, but also QB3, felt like this was the best option to salvage the season. So, Destin, first off, welcome to the show, but what are your thoughts on Uncle, I guess, or Grandpa Phil in his return to the Colts?
I feel like Uncle has to stay in his title. So is it Grandpa Uncle Phil or is it
Grunkle.
Uncle Grandpa?
It's Grunkle Phil. It's
Okay.
like if you ever watch Gravity Falls, the Grunkle, like that's what I think it is.
Okay, yeah, that works. But yeah, I mean, this is insane first and foremost. But like, you almost can't blame the Colts for doing this, but it still just needs to be said that like this feels insane.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's absolutely insane.
But I mean, when you have this amount of injury luck at the most important position in football, like they felt desperate, and when you're desperate, you do things that are insane, and that to them means that a freshly 44. That's an important to say. He just turned 44. A freshly 44 Phillip Rivers is what their Hail Mary is.
Yeah, no, it very much feels like, we're taking the full court shot with no time left on the clock. We might be down like 6 points, but maybe they'll give us 6 points if we're somehow able to make this a full court shot. But for anyone thinking that this is to be the starter the rest of the season, from what I can kind of gain from the situation, I don't think that they have him ahead of Riley Leonard in the pecking order. Riley Leonard, I believe, will be the guy if healthy. But the big issue right now, Destin, is Riley Leonard injury that went from Shane Steichen saying he's dealing with some soreness in his knee, which is a common Shane Steichen thing where we just say very like mundane injury, elevated to a strain in the knee, and now it's a PCL injury in the knee. Now they believe currently it's a grade 1 PCL injury, which would be typically a 1 to 3 week recovery window, and the Colts have him as week to week. But I don't think he plays this weekend. Like maybe he does play this weekend, but I really don't think Leonard is playing this week. So if healthy, I think Leonard is the guy the rest of the year. But the question is, he's not healthy right now. So is Phillip Rivers the starter this weekend? I think he might start this weekend. Like I really think he might start this weekend, Destin.
It definitely feels like he should be the odds-on favorite to be the starter like this week, especially. Like you, I do not think when Riley Leonard is healthy, if Riley Leonard is healthy, is probably a better way to put it down the stretch. I don't think Rivers would start over Leonard. I also don't think Rivers would want to per se start over Leonard. I mean, they have a pretty close relationship as well from Philip working with him throughout his draft process. They both think very highly of the other. But I just it's hard to expect a quarterback like Leonard who is dealing with a knee injury, any form of knee injury, when he relies so much on his ability to move to play the quarterback position, whether that's to make plays out of the pocket, whether that is to extend plays on a run with his legs. Like taking that aspect of Leonard's game away, it's going to make him so ineffective, in my opinion, to where they felt the need to go out and do this. I don't feel like they go out and take this drastic of a move, though, unless they feel Riley Leonard is going to miss time, whether that's this Sunday or one of the remaining games. I don't think they make this move unless they truly believe he's going to miss at least a game down the stretch, though.
Yeah, no, and when it comes to the Colts, a lot of people are saying like, oh, this is crazy. This is, going to a guy who's been out of the league for 5 years. But realistically speaking, you have to field a quarterback, field a capable team of playing this Sunday, right? And with your top 3 quarterbacks out, your only options to start on Sunday were Brett Rippon, the practice squad guy who was mostly here because he's buddies with Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones vouched for him. We always say there's 2 types of backup quarterbacks in the NFL. There's a backup quarterback that can win you games and a backup quarterback who's really good friends with the starter. I would probably put Brett Rippon more so in that category when it comes to where he's at in his career. Maybe they could have gone out and got Sam Ehlinger off of the Broncos practice squad, and even though he hasn't been with the team all year, like he at least knows part of the system, or go get Phillip Rivers, who's still really close with Shane Steichen. Even at a very degraded point in his career, he's still a Hall of Fame caliber quarterback. So, I mean, could a 44-year-old Rivers really be worse than a Brett Rippon who just isn't an NFL caliber quarterback? So that was really the Colts' only options this week. So I don't blame the Colts, and I also don't blame Phillip Rivers because I know he's just insane. So I don't blame him whatsoever, because you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, for lack of a better term or analogy here. Honestly, it feels worse than between a rock and a hard place where the Colts are at. They just didn't have an option, especially in the NFL where, this isn't like hockey. This isn't like baseball where you have hundreds of guys in the minor leagues that you can call up. You have 3 to 4 guys at best who are in the system throughout the season. And if all those guys go down to injury, what can you do on a short week notice? We saw with the Broncos back in the COVID season had to put a wide receiver at quarterback for a time. The Colts were one hit. Honestly, if Riley Leonard got that injury in the game, the Colts were less than one hit away from Tyler Warren going out there and playing quarterback, because Leonard just toughed through it the rest of that game. They were inches away from Warren being out there. So they just don't have any options right now. And Rivers, again, I can't blame the Colts here because he's really their only option to play this week.
Yeah, I mean, I think it helps that the Colts offensive system is one where if you're someone that knows it well enough that can go out there and just operate, there are elements of this offense that can work and can even look appealing at times with a quarterback that just knows what he's doing, right? And I think Phillip Rivers is going to be able to check that box. Now, the concern that's going to come into play is when anything goes wrong on a play, and that's anything. What happens then? And that's what we're all going to be watching for on the edge of our seats come whatever game he ends up playing. That's where the concern will come in. But, yeah, I mean, if you're Brett Rippon right now, you got to be feeling awful about yourself because this is what they felt was a better option than just bringing you up off the practice squad. But I mean, other than that, like you said, you can't blame the Colts. They did not have much else they could do. Getting a quarterback in here that was going to learn this system in a blink of an eye was just, it was going to be hard. And for them to have a quality quarterback that was going to do it, it would have required some vet out there asking his current team to be released so he could do it. And if that happens, you're not practicing this week because you still have to go through waivers in the NFL at this point of the season. There wasn't a perfect solution. There wasn't. And they went with the appealing but insane option. But it's going to get painted as fun in the media for multiple days. So I guess they can count that as a win in comparison to doing some other things they could have done. But it's insane. That's just where it falls.
Yeah, and if Rivers starts this week, guys, do the Colts even what kind of game plan can they even have against the Seattle Seahawks team, which this will be a little taste for what in the next segment is the best run defense in the league by a wide margin. What can the Colts do against the Seattle Seahawks if Philip Rivers starts? We're going to talk about that here in just a second. But first, NFL Sundays move fast. One big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is the best when the game starts to shift. A receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips because you're down to your e-bug quarterback out there, a guy who was coaching high school football this entire season. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. Live spreads and money lines adjust instantly. Player props update as guys heat up, and you can bet the next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and much more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. All right, Locked On Colts everydayers, thank you for making Locked On Colts your first listen of the day and every day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. We're here talking about the return of Grandpa, Grunkle, I guess, Grunkle Phil to this Colts team, and what this means going forward. And heck, if he starts this week against the Seattle Seahawks, can the Colts, I don't even want to say can the Colts get a win? Like, can the Colts move the football? Can the Colts get points on the board? I think that's going to be the real question. But Destin, I don't want to look too far ahead to Seattle here because it feels like the games are moot at this point compared to just the juicy storyline. But Seattle has the best run defense in football. Last week against the Atlanta Falcons, I believe they had 8 turnovers forced compared to just 9 points allowed. They've done that to multiple opponents this year, too. They're a really good defense. And Phil is walking into a situation where maybe, even if he doesn't start this week, right, he's one hit away from being out there against a team like this. So, I mean, could he realistically play this week, Destin? I guess we should just start with that. Again, we said in the first thing, I think he's going to start this Sunday. They don't have anyone else. So I think he is going to start this Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, I feel like he's got to be the odds-on favorite just because I don't think you make this move unless you feel like he's going to have to play at some point, and it feels like that some point might be now with Riley Leonard's knee not being 100%. And then the second question is, if Riley Leonard plays and is listed as the starter, if he toughs it out and goes out there this Sunday, if you're Philip Rivers, do you risk losing the eligibility to make the Hall of Fame on just being elevated to the active roster to be there, in case he gets hurt? Because to me, I can't imagine that's the case. I can't imagine he's going to be added to the active roster unless the plan is for him to take the first snap of that game at quarterback, which then probably means that Brett Rippon is going to be the one that is elevated to the active roster to be the backup, quote unquote, for that game. It'll be interesting to see kind of what happens. I mean, my personal bet right now is that Philip Rivers probably starts against the Seahawks. And then if that's the case, if you're the Seattle defense, you stack the box ×2 and you just make it to where, it may be like baseball to where someone's coming up that is bunting. And you bring in the secondary as well. You just make sure that on any deep ball attempt, you're right there to where you can catch the 15-yard ball that comes out of Grandpa Phil's hand. Because you're not going to see the 50-50 balls given to Alec Pierce with Rivers under center. I don't know what the offense looks like in a passing situation because it's easy to say, well, just lean on Jonathan Taylor. That's an easy thing to say in premise, but then you think of the fact that the Seattle Seahawks are just not going to let you do that.
Yeah, and they play 3 top 10 run defenses down the stretch here, by the way, including Houston, again, who is incredible in every facet. Seattle, the #1 run defense. Jacksonville, who they just faced, is Taylor has the most rushing yards all season from a running back against them. Maybe you can run against San Fran a little bit, but yeah, it's crazy. I guess glass half full. I'll say this. we saw Tom Brady's arm get stronger with age. And, some people say don't compare to Tom Brady, but like this is also a Hall of Fame caliber quarterback. So maybe Rivers just being away from the sport found the TB12 method or something, or did some kind of injections in his arm to get it better the way that Tom Brady did. So I don't know. Maybe everyone keeps saying the arm looked good in the workout last night. That's what all the insiders are saying. And all these reports from draft prospects who work with him being like, oh, yeah, he outthrew us in our draft things. And I'm like, that's a horrible sign for you guys. But anyway, like, I just can't believe this is happening. But yeah, I don't think he's going to be useless out there because he is Phillip Rivers. Like, even Peyton Manning at his worst won a Super Bowl. I know it was with the best defense in the league, but like he was still kind of Peyton Manning in a great. I don't know, man. I'm just so much of what I'm thinking right now is just my thoughts out loud. But it's like you can't even do like the boot action stuff. You can't do much of the, anything outside the pocket at all. Everything has to be confined from the inside of the pocket. And I think the biggest thing here is just every single player around him needs to be at their absolute best. Like offensive line, this has to be like you're protecting your grandpa back there. If you're the offensive line, you can't let your grandpa get hit by a 20-year-old. Like you have to be protecting him with your life on the line.
No pressure, Jalen Travis, who probably is making his first start of the year
right
this week. But yeah, I mean, I think it's important to say that there are elements of Rivers' game that could make it to where you can do things effectively in the short end. I mean, super smart quarterback when he was playing. One of the smartest people anyone that has been around Rivers cannot talk enough about how smart he is in terms of reading a defense, identifying blitzes when they're coming. And that's the other thing. Like, you're not going to see Seattle just blitz Rivers' head off because all you're going to see from the Colts whenever Rivers is on the field are hot reads. Like, there are going to be 4 hot reads on every single play. And Rivers will be able to find that. Like, if that's what you bring at a quarterback like Rivers, the Colts are going to be able to move the ball slowly, but move the ball. Like, they're going to be able to move the ball down the field in that case, if that's what you decide to do to them. So I do think that in recent weeks, we've seen that has been the answer that a lot of teams have thrown at Daniel Jones and the Colts passing offense have been timed blitzes at a very high level, and it's caused issues. I don't think that'll be the similar way that you're going to beat Phillip Rivers in whatever the Colts passing game looks like with him under center. So what that looks like, we'll see. I think you're probably going to see defenses drop back more. I think they'll pretty much just trust in their ability to get home with 4 against a quarterback like Rivers that's not going to leave the pocket. And they're just going to make sure that their coverage on the back end is top notch and they don't give them an open man. Because if you give them an open man in that 0 to 12-yard range, like I think Rivers is smart enough that he's going to find it. So I think that'll be the part that Colts fans can at least hope for, is that defenses are going to have to change how they play this Colts offense in recent weeks at least.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only thing you can really do is just, again, you want to hit a lot of quick screens and a lot of just 1-read stuff, 2-read type things. And again, like, you need the other 10 guys that are going to be on the field need to be playing elite football for that to work. Like, I've seen teams win this way before. We saw the Green Bay Packers beat the Colts last year with Malik Willis, where they threw 12 passes in that game, and most of them were quick screens. Like, they did not throw the ball against the Colts, but they won because those other 10 guys beat the crap out of the Colts 11 guys on defense. So Malik Willis didn't have to do anything as the Packers won. Oh, and their defense stepped up as well. So you can certainly win with Rivers, but it takes an entire team effort. And I guess this is a perfect transition to our final segment here, Destin, which is, with what we've seen from this team the last 3 weeks, can they get a full team effort? Can they get those other 10 guys on offense plus the 11 starters on defense to actually step up and play winning football around Phillip Rivers? I'm going to say probably not, but we'll talk about that here in the final segment to close out today's show. You know, there's no reason to let big wireless drain your wallet, especially during the holidays. Right now, Mint Mobile is running their best deal of the year. All of their unlimited plans are 50% off. That means you can lock in 3, 6, or even 12 months of unlimited premium wireless for just $15 a month. It's the easiest way to take your overpriced phone bill and give it a full Scrooge treatment. And what makes this even better is how simple Mint makes the switch. No contracts, no nonsense, just real savings and real quality service. Turn your expensive wireless present into a huge wireless savings future by switching to Mint. Shop Mint Unlimited plans at mintmobile.com/lockedonnfl. That's mintmobile.com/lockedonnfl. Limited time offer, upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for a 12-month plan. Plan $15 a month equivalent, taxes and fees. Initial plan term only to up to 35 gigabytes, may slow when network is busy. Capable device required. Availability, speed, and coverage varies. See mintmobile.com. All right, Locked On Colts Everydayers, we are back. I'm joined again by Destin Adams from A to Z Sports, talking all about the Colts' big move to bring in Phillip Rivers to try and save this season, I guess. But Destin, you know, we've talked about the potential for Phil to start this week. We talked about just Phil coming here in general and coming out of retirement again, 5 years removed from his last time playing in the NFL, which is 2020 with the Colts in that COVID season with the team. But in terms of, can they do enough around him to make this even meaningful? Let's put the record aside. Let's put the remaining schedule aside, where they're playing the 4 of the best teams in football down the stretch. But Destin, this team has just not shown up the last 3 weeks, whether it is the fourth quarter collapse against the Kansas City Chiefs, whether it is the lackluster and just sloppy game against the Houston Texans at home, and then the entire team just quitting the second their quarterback went down in this past game. You know, to win in the NFL, there's such a small margin for error where you have to be you're on point, I guess, at all points of the game. You have to have bounces go your way. You have to have luck. You have to have talent. You have to have skill. And you have to have the drive to win. I just haven't seen it from this Colts team the last couple weeks. And now when they're down to, again, I call it the e-bug quarterback because that's kind of like a hockey term with that, but like their e-bug quarterback right now. Do we think that they just all of a sudden show up and have that winner's mentality these last couple weeks, or do we expect much of the same from a team that has laid down a little bit this year and also has kind of laid down in 2023, 2024, 2022, 2021, 2020, like for pretty much the entire time that this leadership group has been here?
Yeah, I mean, I think a big key to this is we saw how defeated they looked in the locker room after this game against Jacksonville. They've had losses this year. They've had tough losses this year. They didn't look like that. No. And I think you saw how important Daniel Jones had become in terms of a leadership infrastructure in that post game. Like, I just think you could see it. And I think that's another key piece to where maybe the Phillip Rivers move makes a little bit more sense when you take those things into account than maybe the outside is looking at, because they needed that style of leader back in the locker rooms one way or another. So bringing that in, maybe that lifts some spirits in terms of what we saw post Jacksonville. I don't think if you could lower the spirits from what we saw post Jacksonville. So figuring out that, I think, is the first step. Second step, this is not a team that's going to win shootouts anymore. This is not a team that can even be considered a participant in a shootout anymore. So like, I think as much pressure as we've talked about that the offense needs to be on their best game from now on to even have a chance, the defense is going to have to play significantly better than what they've looked like as of late. Obviously, they made a big win now move for Sauce Gardner. Obviously, injuries have not helped them be able to kind of see what they're envisioning of that defense would look like. We have not seen this defense fully healthy since that trade happened. DeForest Buckner hasn't been on the field since Sauce Gardner joined. We got a partial game of Sauce Gardner and Charvarius Ward really looking the part together, with Charvarius Ward kind of easing his way back in. And then obviously we get to the next game and Sauce Gardner is hurt on the second defensive play. Yep. Now they're probably going to have to be operating without Sauce and without Charvarius Ward against arguably the best receiver in football right now against Seattle. Lou Anarumo is being mentioned for a lot of head coaching openings, and he's going to get to show what he's worth here in a big way by if he can get this defense on paper without Buckner, without Gardner, without Ward, to perform at a high level this week at Seattle against a very high-powered offense. Like, I think that would dot a lot of I's and cross a lot of T's for people around the league looking for head coaches next year. But I think the defense is as important as the supporting offensive cast to this Philip Rivers experiment working.
Right, and that's also kind of the big part of this equation here. When we talk about how realistic is it for the Colts, because they don't need a win out to make the playoffs, right? They put themselves in a good enough situation where you have to win 2 games to make the playoffs. You know, if you get to 10 wins, if you don't make it at 10 wins, then so be it. But if you get to 10 wins, typically you're going to make the playoffs, right? So they got to steal 2 games down the stretch here. Now they're playing 4 of the hottest and best teams in the league in these 4 games, but they have to steal 2 of these games if you want to make the playoffs, right? So that's why you're making this move. Get Philip Rivers in here. He gives you a better shot than Brett Rippon and maybe even than Riley Leonard if Riley Leonard were healthy, right? But it's not just, okay, everyone's good to go, everyone's healthy, everything's perfect. We just minus Daniel Jones and plus Philip Rivers. They're down their top 3 defenders currently. Sauce Gardner, we don't know if he's going to play this week. We'll have to see if the updates this week with his practice schedule. DeForest Buckner should be eligible to come back this week, but again, we don't have much clarity on his injury. We know he got some like stem cell procedures done in the bye week, and we'll see if he's ready to go then. Mooney Ward should not touch the field the rest of the season. If this is truly his 3rd concussion, absolutely should not touch the football field this year and maybe ever again, right? That's your top 3 defenders. On the offense side of the ball, Braden Smith's not playing this week with that concussion suffered in the middle of this past game. So it's not like you're just putting Philip Rivers in this perfect situation. You're putting him out there with a rookie 4th-round right tackle next to him, and then with a defense that has struggled lately and could be without their 3 best players, especially with how they just looked against Jacksonville. So when it comes to like viewing this as like a serious like playoff push type team, you need players to step up that just haven't stepped up this season, and you're doing it without a lot of star and top players. I struggle to see the avenue here that this actually works here, Destin.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about the schedule. It is what it is. You have to play who's there at this point. You start looking at which of these teams that are left on the schedule have offenses that can the Colts score more than those offenses at least. And you're looking at, I mean, one of them is jokingly enough the Texans, who have the best defense in football right now. So having to outscore their offense that's struggling, but can you score on that defense becomes the question. And then who's that second win? Like, let's say you luck into a win week 18 in that case. Like, who is that second team that you're going to outscore their offense right now?
I mean, they have 2 home games, so that helps. But, look, they're playing Jacksonville at home. And I guess with the 49ers, the whole entire 49ers defense is still pretty hurt. But they fly around, man. They play some good football.
Well, and they're well coached. Like,
yeah,
that's
very well coached.
All four of the teams down the stretch like are arguably some of the most well coached teams in football. You're going to get their best shot in all 4 of those games. And a lot of things got to go right. And there are reports that Philip Rivers looks better now than he looked the last time he's played 5 years ago. I don't know what's in the water in Alabama, but whatever it is, I hope he bottled it and brought it with him. If that's the case, we need some of that secret stuff here. But yeah, it is what it is at this point. You got to go out there and try to win games. And maybe the trade for Sauce, as unfortunate as it's turned into, and the fact that it's going to force them to win games this season and next season, maybe that helps the mentality here, because guys really don't have a choice but to lock in.
Yeah, I will say my little pushback against the insiders, and this is my one little thing here at the end of the show. I'll hide this at the end of the show, throwing this at the insiders. I am a 5'10", 200 pounds, not super athletic, not very healthy. I run like Bambi basically at this point in my career. If I were texting insiders though, you would think that I look like the guy who just played Superman in that movie, because those guys, if whatever you tell them, they will put it out there. So if you tell them they're throwing like better than you did in your entire career, then they that's cool. They'll put it out there that you did. Who knows if you actually are. Like, me and Destin are looking like supermodels if we were texting Ian Rappaport throughout the week. Like, that's
I'm gonna start texting weekly updates to Zach Hicks, and let him put out just how I'm feeling that day. So just make sure you guys hit the little bell button on X next to Zach Hicks's account, and you'll be getting all my life updates going forward from Zach Hicks.
Yeah, now you guys can tell just how serious all of this is, because it's the state of where we're at with the Colts. I called it on my little Locked On Now I did about 20-30 minutes ago, where it's probably the biggest vibe shift I've ever seen in the history of a sport in just 1 month. In 1 month, the Colts went from 8-2 on top of the world, just made this trade for Sauce Gardner, 2 first-round picks. Mooney Ward's coming back. DeForest Buckner's on IR, but he'll be back at some point. Riding high, the number 1 offense in football, just a month later, down to their e-bug goalie, quarterback, basically, down their top 3 defenders, and also that injury to their top quarterback is an Achilles injury, which we don't even know how much he'll be able to play next season. Mooney Ward might be facing retirement. And how much can just life change in 1 month? It's absolutely insane. But that's where we're at going forward with this Colts team. So we'll bring you guys that coverage. Big shout out to Destin Adams, obviously, as always, for joining us here on this show. You guys can check him out over there at A to Z Sports. He does a great job covering the Colts. Also, a big shout out to Jake Arthur. He will be out this week, and I'm trying to tell him to take more than just this week off, but we'll see. They gave birth to their beautiful baby boy, Benny Arthur. Everything's looking great over there on that end, and he'll get more updates as the week goes on. So big shout out to Jake and his family, and congratulations, obviously, to the new addition to their family. We want to thank you guys, though, for making Locked On Colts your first listen today and every single day. The NFL season's in full swing. So for your next listen, get a double dose of the Locked On NFL podcast. Tyler, the madman Rowland, gives you a shot of NFL espresso to start your football day, while Tony Wiggins takes you into the barbershop for the smoothest breakdowns to end the day. Find Locked On NFL on YouTube, wherever you list your podcast. If you guys want to become a Locked On Colts insider and chat with us directly, get that insider scoop, follow the link in our show notes. And if you don't already, make sure you're following at Locked On Colts, at Jake Arthur NFL, and at Zach Hicks 2, all on socials. Also, subscribe to us on YouTube, wherever you list your podcast. We love your guys' ratings, reviews. Again, go check out Destin at the Destin Adams on socials as well. You guys have a great day, and we'll be back hopefully tomorrow to talk more about this Colts team, but who knows which guy they bring out of retirement to play. I might have to talk to you guys more tonight. So if me or Destin get the call, we'll also shout you out tonight as well. But if anything changes, we'll still join you guys tomorrow afternoon for more Colts talk.